do it. 3, 2, 1. Oh, there you go. We're in. We should just use that as the beginning. All right, everyone. Welcome to Rates and Barrels. We are DVR-less, which means that I'm going to stumble through hosting this show. I will make mistakes. I will forget to tell you things like you should check out the draft coverage in The Athletic. I think it's day 2. I don't care about football, but there are things happening and we cover it really well. My ranks are up today, pitching ranks. We'll talk about those later with Paul Sporer, who joins the show to help me not have to talk all the way through. Oh, my God. And later we're going to have Niv Shah come on the show, and that'll be a reunion of sorts all the way back to, I don't know, like 2011, 2012 when we were at First Pitch Arizona all together. So that'll be a fun part of the show. Right now, though, Paul Sporer, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for giving us a little of your time today and stepping in for DVR as he's out.
Thanks for having me. It's great to talk with you. I'm excited to go over your pitcher rankings, and don't worry, you've improved as a host since we were together, and I can help you with the outro. I know that's the part that you're most worried about.
I made a rundown. I rarely
did.
The
you made a rundown, and for anyone that listened to, and I were on the Sleeper on the Bus, and you hear me complain about him not reading the rundown. I did threaten to not read it to get him back, but it was a pretty good rundown, so I had to read it. He did a good job with it.
Yeah, so let's see what's next on the rundown. We've got news. Kyle Hart has been optioned in San Diego, and there's no corresponding move for a starter. And it's not big news. He didn't make my top 150. I don't know if he'd make yours. Obviously not now. But I don't know what their plan is. They tried to stretch out Tyler Kolek in spring. He has a bad ERA, but it's a tough environment he's pitching in right now. Maybe they'll do a bullpen game.
You said Tyler Kolek. It's Steven. Do you know who Tyler Kolek is?
He's a baseball player.
He is. So you didn't name some football player or something. But it is funny because I think they actually might be brothers. But Tyler Kolek was, excuse me, like a number 2 overall pick for the Marlins, and he totally flopped.
Oh,
he was, he was supposed to be a dude. Now he is from Shepherd. Yeah, they're brothers. They have to be. Shepherd High School here in Shepherd, Texas. There's no way that 2 guys named Kolek happen to both go there. They're related somehow. Maybe they're cousins or something, because it doesn't say that. Usually Baseball Reference lists a player's relations, but I guess since Tyler never made the league, they didn't list him here. But anyway, you said Tyler. That's his flame out brother.
Walk rates. I don't think I've ever seen walk rates that terrible.
It was unreal. He was busted from day one. And it was like, okay, when he first got to rookie ball and he's walking 13 guys in 22, and he's like, okay, I can forgive that. He's going to be fine. 61 walks in 109 innings in Greensboro at 19 years old for Tyler Kolek. And then the injuries came, and it never got better, folks. 14 walks in 3 2/3. It was a nightmare. Anyway, Steven Kolek. He was in the mix for spring and then didn't make it. I wonder if they're just going to go bullpen game here with that fifth spot.
I bet you that's the solution. I don't know that there's anything actionable here. Maybe the move here is that they think that Yu Darvish, they can have some skip days coming. So maybe they think Yu Darvish is like 2 or 3 weeks away.
Right. And if he is timeline, that would be huge for them, because getting him back would be great. Yes, set for a big step toward return was the last update. He's throwing high intensity bullpens. That's of April 18th. So that's about a week ago. So maybe this is to clear that path, but I am surprised that they don't have anybody, because now they really do have to do a bullpen game. There's nobody in this bullpen. Logan Gillespie, Ryan Bergert, never heard of him. I don't know what they're going to do there. It has to be bullpen.
This is the story about the Padres, is that, their depth is being tested on the offensive side.
Right.
And they have some guys. I wanted to talk about Tirso Ornelas a little bit in the waiver portion of this, but we can talk about it now, in that Tierce Ornelas is up, and that's because they have injuries to Cronenworth and Merrill, and they have some needs out there. Are you interested in Ornelas at all? I mean, I think he's decent depth.
Yeah. I thought I kind of wanted him to win the job out of spring, see what he could do there. He hit. He was hitting a bit there and had some excitement going. Didn't quite get it. You mentioned the big injuries. Of course, Arise also got hurt when you add in with Cronenworth and Merrill. And then Jason Hayward got hurt. Jason Hayward, who essentially beat out Turso, but he's batting in the middle of the lineup. Now, he's only played 2 of the 4 games this week for Tierce Ornelas. So the playing time's a little sketchy, and only one of those 2 out of 5. And only one of the ones that he missed was against a lefty. So I don't know why he's not getting all the righty plate appearances. That part is a little bit weird to me, but I am going to be interested in Tierce Ornelas in my leagues where he's available. I play mostly deep leagues, so somebody like that I think is more valuable in like a 15, maybe fringy in a 12. I don't think we're getting a 10-team viability yet for Tierce Ornelas, though.
Yeah, what is going on there? How are they even filling this? So I'm looking at the lineup tracker on Fangraphs, and most recently, Tierce has played 2 of the 3 most recently. The only other, they've got Mason McCoy up.
So Mason McCoy and Connor Joe are the 2 that
not playing.
Well, they got the starts. So when you look at Saturday's game, Connor Joe started in center against a righty, and then that moved Oscar Gonzalez to left. And then on Tuesday, when Turso didn't play, Mason McCoy played second. Oscar Gonzalez played left. Who DH'd? Oh, Machado got a day off of his feet and DH'd. So yeah, they've
kind of assumed. I don't know why that McCoy thing is weird. I think that must be because they needed to play Jose Iglesias at third. So I would assume that Ornelas gets the bulk of the starts against righties going forward. I would say he get most of them, all of them.
I think so too.
I'm not trying to get Mason McCoy in the lineup. So
no.
I think, and he has a non-zero chance of outplaying Hayward and pushing Hayward maybe into the 4th outfielder role. So because Oscar Gonzalez is playing too. I mean, they're really testing their depth on offense. And of the group, Oscar Gonzalez, Jason Hayward, Tierce Ornelas, I think we like Tierce the best, although Absolutely. Oscar has some things going for him. It's just Oscar doesn't steal like we thought he might in the minors. He doesn't really run that well anymore, and
we haven't seen any pop.
Yeah, we haven't seen the pop yet.
I will point this out: only 5 games for San Diego next week. 2 are against lefties, so maybe keep your bids light on Turso this week. Yeah. So, but they are going to New York they're going to go to the Yankees and Colorado the following week. Of course, the New York series has 2 lefties as well.
Bench play, where you're actually playing him for the next week. That might work, but
that would be what I would do.
This one's going to be actually, I think, kind of really fascinating this week because Joc Pederson is being dropped, and Joc Pederson is being dropped in 15-teamers. So he's out there. He's available. The next week might not be the worst week to play him in terms of, who they're facing. I believe if you look at the probables grid on Fangraphs, so many good tools over there. What do you guys do?
That's a good site.
Yeah.
He's looking at 2 lefties out of 7.
2 lefties out of 7.
Is that what you see? I got Sears and Springs bookending that athletic series, and then 3 righties against Seattle for Joc.
Yeah, maybe he's a good play for the weekend.
I think so. And, a guy like this, I'm not going to blame anybody for cutting him, even in a deeper league, because he's been terrible.
Yeah.
But that you can get these kind of freaks.
43, I think.
Yeah. Well, he finally broke it. And then did you see when he broke it, he didn't bust it out of the box and almost got thrown out at second. And it was a ball it was never leaving.
Last night. He didn't have a hit.
He ripped a double somewhat recently. Yeah. He ripped a pinch hit double on the 23rd. So yesterday's 0 for 4 didn't hurt him.
So he's 1 for his last 45 or something.
Yes. And it almost resulted in a game-ending out because he did not bust it out of the box and it got over Bladay's head. And the thing was, it was never a homer. So you can't even say he wasn't admiring a homer. I think he just thought it was going to be caught. And it was one of those that kind of hit that wave of wind and jumped over Bleday's head. And so then he had to bust it out of the box and almost got thrown out at second.
That park is so windy. It's so bad.
Very bizarre park.
It's so hard to decide what it's going to play like. And I think if you use your eye test on Joc Pederson, you're not in love with this guy because he looks terrible. He's looked big, for like 3-4 years now. I think true. We even asked Gabe Kapler once about how big Joc Pederson looked when he arrived in San Francisco. So, I was expecting to see the bat speed was gone too, because at 33, that's when bat speed starts really to decline. But his bat speed is still 75th percentile. And I know the barrels aren't there. The max EV is not there. I know the power's not there. He's hitting too many grounders. But I do kind of think that there's something timeless about his approach, which is just to just open up and rip that bat through and hit 20 homers a year, 20, 25 homers a year. In partial playing time. So I'm not putting him on a do not pick up list. I'm not
either. I'm not saying Joc does a 1 for 43 every year, but he goes through cold streaks that put him on the waiver wire in leagues pretty much every year. And he's one of these guys that'll bounce around. Now, last year, he was awesome. 151 OPS plus, 23 homers in a 449 plate appearances. But like you said, most of the skills, the fundamental skills that make Joc who he is, are still there. So I think he'll pull out of this. And in a 15-teamer, you give me somebody like this that I think Texas is going to stay pretty committed to, I'm in. And I'll play him against the righties myself. He's still batting
like third. A little bit of a Mickey Moniak territory, which is like a guy I have on my roster. If I get to a crunch, I'll have to drop him. But if I can keep him on my bench, he'll play half weeks for me.
That's exactly the right way to do it.
Second week, he'll be somebody who can be in the mix. We got some injury news that Kumar Rocker's got a shoulder impingement. I think he still doesn't have a plan against lefties. His pitches don't move in the right way for him against lefties. So this is, a guy who has a fundamental issue with his arsenal as well as an injury now. So I'm not gonna stick around, I think. In a lot of leagues, if you have to have that spot, I would move on. I think you're
right. If you're in the NFBC universe where you don't have IL spots and you might be stashing another guy or something like that, you just don't have a clean reserve roster, I think you can move on from Kumar Rocker because his numbers are really bad anyway. So if somebody really wants to pre-stash him, I say you let him. I would take the shot and cut Kumar this weekend.
Yeah, I think I have a similar thing about Willi Castro. I liked Willi Castro as a bench spackle because he could play everywhere for you.
Bench spackle's a great term.
If he's not gonna be that for you, and I think that if he was healthy, most of the metrics look fine. I mean, maybe he's not stealing that many bags, but maybe he'll still get to 10-10 and just be able to fill in anywhere for you. That's the one nice thing I like about him. But if he's caught the Minnesota Twins injury bug, he is also not the type of player that has the upside that you need to stick around on. This next one, though, this one's really tough. So Emmanuel Clase has been struggling, and now his manager comes out and says he has shoulder discomfort, and he's blowing games, and Cade Smith got the last 2 save chances. Is there anything actionable here? I think in 10s and 12s, it might be premature to go hard after Cade Smith. As good as Cade Smith is, if Emmanuel Clase gets right, he gets the job back, I think.
100%. He's not going to lose this job to injury. So there is that. But, 15, you didn't mention 15s because that Cade Smith's already rostered there because people will take the ratios and the good Ks and a speculative save. So he's not even available. So it is really 12s and shallower. I think I'd go for him, Cade Smith. Now, I wouldn't cut Clase because you're 100% right that once he's healthy, he's going to get that job back. He's not going to lose it to injury. So if you're going for Cade Smith,
could an IL stint be coming?
That's the part that we don't know. And maybe he needs it. Maybe it's a head clearing one too, because not only do we have the struggles early this year, but go back to the playoffs too, where he was not himself. So with Clase right now, everything feels like a bit of a mess. The funny thing is is he's 3-0 with 4 saves because they keep winning the games that he blows. So like your fantasy production, at least in terms of those 2 counting categories, has still been good. Now you've had to get a 7.84 ERA and a 2.23 whip to get there, but at least he's giving you those 3 random wins to help soften the blow a little bit. But yeah, I think Cade Smith in the shallower formats where he's available, I would take the shot. I'll take any save I can get, especially from somebody that good.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where Cade Smith, if he ends up with 7 saves on the year, is probably going to end up as a top 20 reliever in the auction calculator, because he's going to be so good everywhere else. So it's always one of those ones where like, yeah, but nobody owned him because we were all going after saves. And you don't really want to dedicate a roster spot to a pitcher that's not giving you saves or bulk.
It's like Tyler Holton last year with the Tigers, right? He pops up really high on the player rater because he has 7 wins and 8 saves, but it was tough to roster him because he doesn't bring the Ks, only 77 Ks in 94 innings. And so, it can be tough for those guys. They look great at the end of the year, but figuring out that they were going to be that dude during the season is tough. So I agree with that on Cade Smith.
Predicting what reliever will be great all year, in a non-save setup situation.
Good luck.
Remember the year I always loved Chad Green. Chad Green was like guy did it for a while. He did.
Remember Brent Suter got like 10 wins one year. People are like, I'm gonna get Brent Suter this year. Why?
No,
like he's gonna repeat that? Yeah, he went 12-5 in 73 innings, and I'm sure people rostered him the next year, and they got 5 wins and a 3.78 ERA from a guy with 53 strikeouts. So like, But I do like Cade Smith anywhere he's available.
We got 2 pieces of news out of the Royals camp. Cole Reagans is nursing a groin issue. That's why he left that game early.
Yeah.
It didn't affect my ranking of him, but I guess it's something just to think about. And we will do a couple of the top pitchers in a second. But this piece of news I thought might be actionable. Jack Caglione is playing in the outfield. And right now, the outfield in Kansas City, it is not good.
Bad. Bad. No, they need an offensive infusion. So this makes a lot of sense here. If they can figure out a way to get him in there, they're running both Drew Waters and Kyle Isbell. And I want to be honest, I've had some love for both of them over the years. As intriguing like power speed types. They both play decent defense, especially Isbell. He plays great defense. But then you got Renfroe and Wright. I think if you can put Cags in right to take Renfroe's spot, Cags is supposed to be what Renfroe was at his best, right? A mashing corner outfielder. So this is very intriguing.
Renfroe in the mix against lefties,
absolutely,
and work him in there, and maybe DH days when Sal's not DHing, that sort of stuff. I think
because Renfroe right. Waters switch, Isbell left, and Cags left. So you have a mix there that you can really work, and I don't think you would get rid of Renfroe at that point.
Yeah, and I think Isbell and Waters can basically man center.
Yes.
So there's an open spot waiting for him, and Cags has like really top end bat speed, and it was just really just mashing the ball in spring. We were getting really good exit velocity readings. So when you look at like a 216 ISO from him, he's not doing that on legs. He's doing that on hitting the ball extremely hard. And
100%. He probably going to K 30% of the time at the major league level, though, right? So he's going to have to
swing strike rate in AA. Yeah, it's the strikeout rate's going to go up. So it's not going to be a great batting average unless he rides pretty high BABIPs because he hits the ball super hard.
Yeah.
So maybe he can get to like 240. That sort of deal. It's still going to be really great power. And, I know Kurtz is the guy that we'll talk about in a second. But when we get to the free agents, but Cags might be a good stash. This is why if you are healthy, I think in your teams, there's sometimes you're like, I don't really need to do anything to this team. I don't need to spend any time on FAB. This weekend, there's no needs. I think it still makes sense to kind of churn on the margins of your roster. If you have somebody, at the bottom end of your roster that you're holding because they're injured or whatever, like maybe it'd be better to hold Cags because you could make a shot at the overall, or, you know,
Right.
like there's always a reason, or you stave off regression in your team. You think your team is going great, but, you know, something could happen. And then you'd be like, oh, well, I have Cags, and Cags got called up and I bought him for $1 or $5, like 2 weeks before he got called up. So
it's nice to be up early, but you should not be resting on any laurels. So I like that, to always be diligent. Even if you're in first place by 15, 20 points right now, check your roster, see what's up. Can you afford to stash Cags? Because, yeah, he does have that upside to where he could take over the league. And even if he's striking out a bunch, we've seen guys run 28 to 32% strikeout rates for a while, but they hit so many homers and they hit the ball so hard that they can still even hit like 270 while they're blasting the ball. And I don't know if Cags is going to be that guy, but the upside is rich with him. So, yeah, I like looking to stash
and do it
him
now before you have to pay too much for him,
before
when he's
the
actually
frenzy
coming up. Yeah, the Fabapalooza. You got to stay out of that. I've got the producer in my ear. I've got the senior hot dog correspondent on the line. Senior hot dog correspondent, Mr. Niv Shah.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Niv?
I hear there's some sort of culinary disaster. Are you in a disaster zone right now, Niv? Are you okay?
I am doing all right. I want to encourage the disaster that I lived through this past week in the Baltimore hot dog. So let's try to be positive about it.
So Paul, we've had Niv is checking out the hot dogs of the world kiosk at the National Stadium, in which they try to create a culinary homage to whatever team is in town. And,
homage is the right word. It's not. It's a shadow of an idea of what the road team hot dog should be like. What kind of food comes from the road team?
I kind of like that, though, as a concept.
It's very fun.
So I guess you had the Orioles in town?
Yeah, so the Orioles...
It hits all the notes. Paul, what would you think an Orioles dog would have on it?
Yeah.
I mean, are they just going to put crab on it? Don't they have a bunch of crab cakes out there?
That's right.
Crab hot dog?
Basically, that is what it was. I was a little surprised by it because normally they don't. It's not a place where you want to spend a ton of money. You want to be creative, but you don't want to spend a ton of money.
Right.
But this hot dog was mac and cheese and crab, and the amount of crab was exorbitant, I would say. They made up for the lack of quality in crab.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
See,
and you can sort of see the mac and cheese tucking out from there.
Barely.
Yeah.
They could have taken a quarter to a half of that crab and put mac and cheese on.
The person who assembled this hot dog was not using a scale.
No.
And they seemed to be told, just get rid of the crab meat. So...
Because we don't
crab
want
goes bad after today.
Yes, that's right. It may have already gone bad. It needs to get out of here. So, so you're looking at it there if you're watching it, and yeah, it's a lot of crab. And you'll notice the description says there's also Old Bay seasoning, which is a Mid-Atlantic crab topping.
Me neither.
Correct. I think there was a whiff on deploying the Old Bay. I think the Old Bay would have been an excellent addition. Because when you're thinking about mac and cheese and sort of like this kind of loose crab meat, which is a terrible way to phrase it, but it's true, it's just really rich. Like it's loose a really like
in general is a bad phrase.
Yeah, right. You need some like pepper or spice. You need
right.
Spice
so like Old Bay really does meet that need, right? Like if you've had Old Bay, you know what I'm talking about. It's like a nice salty red paprika-y seasoning. Mm-hmm. It could some hot sauce would have served this hot dog really well. But I got what I got, and I was with a couple of.
Was it expensive?
So
they changed the price to reflect all that crab?
It's the same price every time. So I think like they made up for the Phillies dog was very profitable, and they decided to lose a couple bucks on the Baltimore dog. I think it's sort of
they're looking at it in a long-term situation.
Yeah, right. They're looking at the whole season here. They're not looking at like a. So
you think what I would do is with faced with that? I think I would just eat the crab separately, then eat the mac and cheese separately, and then eat the hot dog separately. Because
I got a little bit of feedback that was like,
together.
Maybe the hot dog and mac and cheese could be one bite, and then you have a crab sandwich left. And I think that is like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But instead you tried to eat it all at once.
I ate it all at once, and each bite,
right?
it just really is rich. It's a really like rich, buttery, with nothing cutting it. It drowns out the hot dog, which is a difficult thing to do. If you've had a ballpark hot dog, that's like a challenge. Those are salty things, and this thing just drowns it out. But again, just to go back to the thing I said at the very beginning, I want to encourage this kind of behavior. This is good. Going out and finding crab and being like, yeah, we're going to put crab on a hot dog. Awesome. It really speaks to, Paul, you were just introduced to this entire concept and you were like, that sounds fun. This is fun. When Billy was in town, the very first hot dog I did, it was nacho cheese and peppers and onions. And you're like, that's not fun.
It's really trying.
A hot dog, right? It's not trying. This was trying, and I think the effort should be applauded.
I agree.
So we're gonna leave it at that. I don't know. It was a trip to eat that hot dog. I'll tell you what. It was. I went to two of the Orioles.
Loaded.
I went to two Orioles games. I went Wednesday and Thursday, and having it Wednesday, I did not go back to that stand on Thursday. I'll be honest. I just didn't have to go back. I experienced it. It was great. Yeah.
Well,
so that was the.
What do you have to report from your other beat that you're chasing down for us? Auto new ads ahead of the weekend. What's the hottest? What are the hottest ads right now?
Well, this is Gabriel Arias week. 40% of auto new leagues added Gabriel Arias in the last 7 days, and a little bit is still trailing from the guys we talked about last week, Liberatore and Tyler Mahle. I'm not sure. We talked about both those guys a little bit already, so we don't have to really revisit. And then Luke Keschel is having a big week as well because the call-up and everything, it looks like he's going to jar for a little bit. And then I wanted to briefly mention the cuts in the last 7 days that have been it's the end of Jordan Romano. It's the end of Brandon Marsh. Quarter of leagues cut both those guys this week. And Bo Brisky is also just getting cut at a pretty high rate.
Understandable. Yeah.
Right. So no big surprises there. And,
I mean, Marsh could get it together, but if you add injury on top of struggles, and then the strikeout rate that he's always sported just means that he's walking the line anyway. He really has to be healthy to get the most out of the 30% strikeout rate. He really has to be able to leg singles out and leg doubles and stuff like that. And if the knee's hurting, then and he just looks more lost than I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, he's up there with lost players. I mean, he's falling down in the outfield, after,
which is his strong suit. That's what Marsh is.
That's what keeps him in the lineup. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's taking it out there with him. So I think I made that Marsh cut myself somewhere.
Yeah.
And the Gabriel Arias is somebody that I do find fascinating because he also has the high strikeout rate. He's cut it a little bit, but I think he's just an underlying sort of 30%-ish guy. But the nice thing is, he's getting to those barrels more often. He's turning that good bat speed into power right now. And he's doing it also with a 61% ground ball rate. So I actually have a hard time figuring him out. He's not like a normal Cleveland player. And he's not even John Cancio Noel necessarily because he's not, walk, blast, strikeout.
He's not 3 outcomes. Yeah. He has a job now, and I think that's a big part of it.
I like Gabriel
gets to play more baseball.
But I can't sit here and completely ignore the 6% walk, 27% K. That's just a bad combo. And so if he's not hitting for this power, what are you getting in it? And it comes with a 27% homer to fly ball, which is probably not going to last. So this is one of those guys that I am a stan of. I like Arias. I've been rooting for him for a while because his defense gets him in the lineup. But be careful with this. This could fade pretty quickly, and he could have an 80 WRC plus by mid-May, and nobody would blink.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to raise with you guys, if we could briefly, is 6 picks for the last week. Mm-hmm. We have, I track the biggest price increases, and price increases come from usage. So players who are picked above the expected pick rate. Their prices will go up over time. The top three from last week, two are not a big surprise. Tarek Skubal, who has seemed to be continuing where he left off, and Tyler Soderstrom, who's, everyone's pretty excited.
Because he's the catcher. He's the
catcher that is
everybody wants to
slop in there. Yep.
Heck
yeah.
Also, I've noticed, like, if I'm setting my 6 picks the night before, especially if it's like going to be an early day, I'm on the West Coast. It actually has been sort of a nighttime before I go to bed, kind of just make 6 picks, kind of thing. I want to put a catcher in. I know who's going to start.
He's going to play.
Yeah. So I've been using a lot of Ben Rice and Tyler Soderstrom.
Yeah. Non-catching catchers that you can feel confident are going to play.
They're not going to get a day off. Yep.
Yeah. Those are golden.
Yeah. And number 3 is Luzardo, which I was curious about that. Wanted to bring that to your attention because do you guys was it just because there was a good opportunity to start him last week, or Jesus Luzardo is he's been kicking around with pedigree for quite a while.
I think he's got juice.
He's really tied to his velo because his shapes aren't amazing, but when he's like 96 plus, he's been really great in the past, and he's 96 plus again. So I think that people just see, the last time he was 96 plus, he was a 3 ERA guy with a 28% strikeout rate. So.
And for the first time in Luzardo's career, he's got win upside. I know he's only 2-0 in 5 starts, but with Miami, you were never really expecting wins. With Philly now, you can feel pretty confident. And I don't know if pick 6 rewards wins or not, but just
pick 6 doesn't. But generally, that's a good point. That is. Yeah.
I think that makes him more appealing. But the 24% strikeout minus walk has been huge for Luzardo. So I understand the intrigue with him.
Yeah, so those are the
bit of work on the sinker too. I mean, you're not going to go to a team with Caleb Cotham and not, they not have any plans for you. So
that's an interesting point. So do you think maybe he has had a little bit better shape on some of the secondary stuff?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 4 inches more drop on the sinker this year than he did before, and that's important because it now has a 6-inch differential off the 4 seam, so they're legitimately different pitches. Whereas in the past, with the Marlins, the 4 seam and the sinker had 2 inches of differential. He was basically throwing the same thing out there.
Luzardo has a 114 location plus, far and away the best he's ever had. Is that Caleb Cotham, the pitching coach, playing a role there?
It could be because the big thing about driveline and command is, and he's a former driveline guy, is that they track your intended locations and then your misses off of that. So you cannot improve your command at all. They just improve the locations that they call the pitches to.
Got it.
Because they can be we know where you tend to miss, and we can then give you better targets because we know how to get you to miss in the right direction, because we're not asking you to do anything different. We're just going to show you a slightly different target, that matches your missed locations better. So that would be
6% walks,
to do that.
0.3 homers. So the command and control have been there for Luzardo. Now a 3% homer to fly ball, that's going to regress. You're rarely going to keep something that low, but he's shown a lot of good in these 30 innings. Really, it comes down to health. I think the talent I can really believe in with Luzardo.
Yeah, he was a big riser for me in my latest ranks. He's up 15, up almost 20 spots.
We have been almost the same exact spot.
And the last guy I wanted to mention to you guys, he is being auctioned in 44 leagues right now, so a pretty good number of leagues, over 10%, is Andrew Heaney, who we did a little bit of a deep dive on in the Auto News Slack yesterday, and he's introduced 2 new pitches. And he's just throwing a totally different repertoire than he's thrown before. And he's throwing strikes, which obviously throw strikes. You like seeing that. And there was sort of a general consensus that there's something to be excited about there. You guys...
I'm in. I'm a longtime Heaney fan, so part of it is baked in from history. But as soon as he signed with them, I was intrigued because what's the biggest issue with Heaney? Homers. And PNC is not going to eliminate them, but it will mitigate them. And so far that has played out for sure. Now he's also running a 4% homer to fly ball. League average is about 11%. So I don't think he's necessarily found a new thing there. But even anything below 1 for a homer 9 for Andrew Heaney is going to help him be good. And right now he's at 0.3. So I really do like Heaney. And I was super intrigued too because his first start was Miami. So I'm like, at the very worst, I'm going to stream him for 1 start and then I'll go from there. And I've ended up keeping him because he's been wonderful.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that you want to keep around the back end of your bench that you want to start at home. It's kind of what I hoped for Mitch Keller, but Mitch Keller will disappoint you.
Thank you so much. It is a 2-step at home next week for Heaney as well. The Cubs, but it's the Cubs and Padres coming to visit, so it's a very big test for him. But I'm really eager to see how he handles it.
Yeah, the point you made about the home run rate is a really good one, Paul, because if you look historically at where he has played in ballparks. His home park has been very home run friendly, unfriendly to pitchers. And so this is not just a little bit of a change for him. This is we're going from a top 5 giving up home runs to a top 5 suppressing home runs park. So that could be a big chunk of it. But he's also throwing a couple new pitches, and general consensus from the community that I heard was the pitch repertoire change is actually pretty exciting as well. So Andrew Heaney, another guy to maybe revisit.
Yeah, because he at times has been very too pitchy,
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't think that the quality of his 2 pitches is good enough to do that. So
no.
I think it behooves anybody who has sort of middling stuff just to add more middling pitches,
he's throwing
more on there,
he's throwing a sinker that he never threw before this year.
Yeah.
Right. He's throwing a slow curve that he never threw before. And he's just making him throw his fastball a little bit less. And that could be good.
Yeah. Well, stuff says it's been a good change so far. 1 or 2 stuff plus, 100 location plus. It's an average pitcher with a above average home situation. So I think that's
right.
I don't know if I reflected on my ranks. Now I'm looking at my ranks.
I mean, you put him 98th. I think that's fine. You actually have Heaney around Mitch Keller, Chris Bassett. I'm surprised Bassett didn't move up higher. He looks like he's been pitching well, but maybe it's just surface results and it's not going to stick around.
I don't know. The K-PB is good for Bassett, but I'm just going to always be wrong on him. Whenever I'm like, yeah, go get Bassett. Then we get the 4.5 ERA.
Last year was brutal, dude. I don't blame people for kind of passing on him this year, thinking that maybe it was the beginning of the end at age 35. But yeah, he looks great so far this year. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Niv. It's good to see you. You're off. Are you off on some travels? You're going somewhere?
Yeah, I'm going abroad for a little bit. I don't know when the next hot dog is going to be, but I will have some food reporting for you guys when I am back.
Well, I look forward to it now.
Oh yeah, maybe some hot dogs of the world. Love it.
We'll see. We'll see what's out there. We'll see what's out there. I don't want to make any promises that I can't keep. So, thanks a lot, guys.
Remember if you get a hot dog, take a picture of it.
Absolutely. Man.
Give me that.
All right, thanks, guys.
Take care off the screen, please.
Hey, man,
get out of here. I don't want to see it anymore.
Yeah. I'm obviously built like one of those inflatable dancing men in front of a used car lot. But when I went to Baltimore, when I went to Camden, I had like 7 crab cake sandwiches over the course of the night. It was the most I've ever eaten in one. They were so good because they had the Old Bay the way Niv's hot dog should have. And it was the most I ever gorged myself. I had 4 at the Yard and 3 more at the ESPN Zone that we went to after the that night. It was crazy. And I never eat that much. I'm the worst at a buffet, but I love crab cake sandwiches.
Amazing. All right. On that note, I will take off. Thanks, guys.
See you, Niv.
Thanks, Niv. Bye. All right. I don't know if we can top that. No, please stop. I gotta eat lunch after this. So now the ranks are out. Paul's always working on. Do you do that daily? The daily pitching rundown?
Yes, except for the weekend, which people want, but I try to take some days off.
Sleep someday.
Right.
And what's cool about that is that means that you're maintaining almost 2 lists. You have a sort of season-long pitching ranks that you're maintaining, and then you are attacking it on a sort of daily level where you're thinking about these guys against each other all the time. And so, I've got a couple things from your slate today, but I want to just start at the top. because I have Yoshinobu Yamamoto 9, and I had him behind Reagans and Fried. With the Reagans groin thing, maybe I made a mistake. And Fried is always like, an injury update away too.
Right.
But and the projections say I'm wrong too. But
really,
there's just this weird thing for me that we've oopsie. I use the oopsie projections, and even though they're powered by Stuff Plus, they have them with like a 3.08 ERA projection. I just don't know if I trust it because the stuff number isn't quite there. And I don't know how much I should worry about that at this point, because Yamamoto has really come on like gangbusters and look like an ace. So do I care? Like, do we care that he has league average stuff by Stuff Plus? Do you care? What do you see when you see him?
I don't.
Do you think you would have him 3, 4, 5 or something? Where would you have him?
So I do. I keep my season long rankings updated like behind the scenes, because I'll probably do a monthly update while I'm doing the SP chart. And I've got Yamamoto ahead of both of those guys. He's sitting 5 right now for me. He's been unbelievable. He's on. And listen, I know their record doesn't agree with the statement I'm about to say. They're still the best team in baseball. So he's on the best team in baseball. And the way he's looked, but I've had the same conflict, and I'm glad we're talking here, because I wanted to ask you, like, what is that disconnect? I know that Stuff Plus doesn't automatically translate to strikeouts one way or the other. You can have a good Stuff Plus and not enough strikeouts. You can have a mediocre or to bad Stuff Plus and still get strikeouts. But why such a big disconnect with Yamamoto, where he's got a 35% K rate, 14% swinging strike rate? Both are excellent metrics, but only 97 on the Stuff Plus. I am perplexed by it, but I've decided to just kind of ignore it, and I pushed him up my rankings to number 5.
So, when you look at the projections, it says, Yamamoto's equal to Skubal and Skeens, and he should be one of the top 3 pitchers in the league. And I don't know that my eye test, and certainly not the model, say that he's like a top 3 pitcher in the league. The results have been there though. So maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, it could be, but it's also 29 innings, so I don't want to automatically say you're wrong. I guess with the eye test, you're just sharper at analyzing pitches individually, because usually for me, the eye test, if I'm seeing a 35% K rate, 64% ground ball, I'm in. So like I said, I've been slowly inching him up, and I might even put him in the top 3 at this point behind Skubal and Skeens. But right now he's at 5.
I'm just like yelling at the TV, like, hit this guy's fastball. Like,
right. Why do you keep missing the fastball?
He throws it middle a lot.
He does.
And he doesn't locate high in the zone. He doesn't really locate low in the zone. He throws it thigh high all the time, and it has dead zone movement. It has like 16 inches of vertical break. And there's nothing that nothing that I'm looking at, and I'm like, hit the fastball. Now, yes, when you see the curve and you see the splitter, you're like, okay, those are some nasty pitches. Right. I mean, a 91 mile an hour split finger that drops off the table, 77 mile an hour, huge, like yo-yo curveball. Like, those please the eye test. But I'm kind of yelling at the screen, like, why aren't you hitting the fastball? And last year they had a 419 slugging against Yamamoto's fastball, 340 WOBA. And this year, for some reason, they have a 290 slugging. So that's the number I think will change.
So there could be some regression there. And
I take Skubal's fastball over his fastball. I'll take Skeen's fastball. All the guys at the top have great secondaries, so I'll take Crochet's fastball over him. And, I ended up taking, Fried has a new set of fastballs, and I really like Fried's new fastballs. So, I was like, Fried's and Reagan, I like their fastballs better. So it's picking the nits, and maybe it's not that valuable because anybody who has Yamamoto is happy to have him. Nobody's selling him, there's nobody selling him, even if I have him 9. So, it's no big deal. But I had a guy, Hunter Brown, ahead of him. And it's just relevant to this is that I love Hunter Brown's fastballs. And so I just love that if somebody has that, I feel like they're so much better off because, yes, Hunter Brown, Nick Pollock is always saying, we both have a side podcast with Nick Pollock. So, but Nick, he hates Hunter Brown.
I love Hunter
He's like,
Brown.
What's the out pitch? And I'm like, the curveball's the out pitch. Can't Hunter Brown go to the curveball more, second, third time through the league? Like, isn't he just succeeding right now on the fastballs because he can?
That's exactly how, like, we are in so lockstep with Hunter Brown. I'm obsessed with him. And again, I will freely admit the bias. Part of it is that he loves Justin Verlander. That's who he models himself after. And that's my favorite pitcher ever. So if you're giving me like a baby Verlander here, I'm in. But yeah, that's how I see it. I watch most of his starts. I'm a huge Hunter Brown stan. I think his heat's getting him there. I agree that the knuckle curve is the out pitch. And I think we will see it go more, especially as he goes through the division, because those are the teams you're definitely going to face 2, 3, 4 times. And I think we'll see him unleash it more. I don't know. I know Nick's been out on him. I think he's going to continue to lose there. I like our chances with Hunter Brown. I really do.
Good. So I'm gonna pivot from that one to one that we might not be in lockstep on.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Pivetta at 30.
I can get
you
there.
You were.
I was a late convert. Okay,
you weren't into him this offseason.
I was not, and I was consistently saying, he's got home run issues. When are those going to get fixed? This park alone isn't going to fix it. But I caught myself because he is a player type that I think gets very underrated in fantasy. It's the player type where their ERA runs a bit high, but they give you a great whip. 4.04 and 4.14 ERAs the last 2 years. And our eye catches that, and we're like, this guy's not that good. 112 and 113 whip with a 30+% K rate between the 2 years for Nick Pivetta. And I caught myself very late in draft season. I said, you know what? This is a player type I harp on people underrating, and here I am underrating it. So I jumped on board late. We are still about 5 ranks apart. I have him 35th. You have him 30th. But I am in on the Nick Pivetta train here. I've realized the error of my ways. And so far, similar to Andrew Heaney, this is like a higher end Andrew Heaney, where he moved to the right park to kind of fix his biggest issue. His home runs have been excellent. Again, it's a 3% homer to fly ball and a 0.3 homer 9. I don't think it's going to stay at that level for Pivetta, but he doesn't need to be. If he can be a 1.0 homer 9, we would take that, because that's going to be a low to mid 3s ERA with a boatload of strikeouts and a great whip. So I am in. I'm not digging in my heels. I realize the error of my ways on Pivetta. If he burns me, though, I'm going to immediately pull the ripcord and say, I always hated it.
I told you guys. Well, I mean, the thing that's classic for me about Pivetta is this is, one of his worst stuff pluses of his career.
Right.
But, sometimes it makes sense for a starting pitcher to reduce their stuff plus in the pursuit of turning the lineup over a third time, showing different shapes. Like we were saying with Heaney, Pivetta is now throwing the cutter the second most of his career. He's throwing the sinker the most of his career. And so he's widened his mix. He's also changed his position on the rubber. And so, he's giving people a different look on top of the fact that he's in a park that's going to help him some. And then lastly, just, even if he just plays to his projections, which are for a high 3s ERA, it is that low whip with lots of strikeouts. So it's a pretty valuable combo, even if he has some games where he kind of loses the plot, which I think are probably going to be part of any year for Pivetta. I think that probably the underlying thing that's holding him back to some extent, I know he has a great location plus right now, but I would not say that he has great natural command.
Totally agree.
And I think the location plus numbers sometimes can be influenced by just going into the zone more. And that doesn't mean you necessarily have great natural command. It just means you're throwing in the zone more.
And his zone rate is up about almost 3 points this year.
And that's generally a good thing, especially if you have good stuff, but it can eventually lead to homers. So. And
here's the thing. What I hope for Pivetta, because again, the homers will regress. I hope it's just like a random bad start here and there where he gives up multiple homers. We take it on the chin.
3 weeks of homer barrage.
That's what I would rather take a face caving, a 6-7 earned run here and then 4 more great starts. I think that's how it's going to be with him, because he looks dialed in right now. I watched him dice up my Tigers, who are playing pretty good ball right now, and he looked great. And I was like, whoa. This is not the Nick Pivetta that you see all the time, and he was awesome. And not that the Tigers lineup is scary, by the way. I want to be clear on that. I am a Tigers homer, but the lineup is not threatening. But he diced them really nicely.
Then we have a couple veterans in the middle here: Seth Lugo at 69 and Justin Verlander at 74. Lugo, like you mentioned, his K- BB is not great, and really I was looking at it and like there's nothing really that's great about Seth Lugo right now. You can't be like, oh, stuff this or that. I think the only thing that keeps Seth Lugo where he is for me is just the park is decent. At the very least, I feel like I can play him at home. He's going to have some okay divisional foes where you're just not as afraid of those offenses sometimes. And, you know, like I just think he's eminently usable. But it is interesting to have somebody who's just so good last year, got Cy Young votes, is not that fundamentally different under the hood, and is now just going to have kind of a 4.2 ERA season, maybe.
I'm really shocked by that.
Him?
I have him similar to you. Let me see where I have him exactly right now. I think he is in the 60s. No, he's still hanging in the back 50s for me right now, which might still be high. I'm kind of holding through these choppy waters, which I think I said in the SP chart, despite the fact that I cannot cling to anything here right now. The 9% walk rate is particularly bizarre because he's never been up there. 2021 for 46 innings, he had a 10%. Other than that, Seth Lugo's never anywhere near 9%. That
was a relief season anyway, so it was,
so it's small sample weirdness. That's the part that I think will be fixed as long as he's not hurt or something, but he does have a 92 location plus, which is well below anything we've ever seen. He's always 100 or better. And so I don't know. They're not going to go anywhere away from him unless he's hurt. Lugo's going to stay in that rotation. So again, I'm going to ride this out. You do still have a 3.90 ERA. So as bad as things have gone, he's not bludgeoning your ERA. So I'm going to stick through another handful of starts here. But I understand the trepidation. Like in a 10-teamer, I'd probably bench him, but I don't think I'd cut him yet. I'd really try to still hang on in a shallower league because I think he can get back, not to last year, but get back to 2023, which was when he had a 3.57 ERA and a 1.20 whip. I think that guy's still in there. He's not that far away. Yeah,
and on Verlander, like, you know, the overlying stuff numbers, you know, do hide the fact that the fastball is not what it used to be.
Right.
And to some extent, like he has made some changes where he's like throwing a sweeper now and he's like changed his mechanics a little bit, but you know, I think he still pitches as if his fastball is good. It's great.
He does. The confidence is there, perhaps too much. Like go into the secondaries more, JV. You have an interesting secondary arsenal. No, I totally agree. I mentioned earlier, my favorite pitcher ever. I'm fully dialed in on all his starts, and it is frustrating because you're like, hey man, your fastball's passed you by a little bit. I know he added one mile an hour back from last year, but that's still to 94.6. That's not old school JV. There is still some compelling elements here, though. He needs to iron it out. I think right now we're kind of teetering, and if we don't see a couple good starts, he starts to become cuttable in like 12-teamers and shallower. But right now I'm trying to hold because I do think that we've seen glints of upside from Verlander. Again, my bias on the table, though, I do love him.
Yeah, and the worst start for him this year was on the road in Cincinnati, which is, I think, pretty much an easy avoid.
Right.
And so I think just going forward, it's so hard to do this with a name like Justin Verlander, but he's in the same grouping for me as Seth Lugo, which is like somebody you want to keep on your roster and you want to be careful how you use them. And you basically use them at home or on the road in friendly situations. So he's not an every start guy. And that's exactly how I would treat these two guys going forward. Then we got some young guys at the back. I mean, one of the things I think it's really hard is when somebody like Casey Mize like does everything you want him to do, right? And you know, like innovates on the breaking pitches and irons out his reverse splits and like seemingly breaks out. And I had him in my top 100 to start the year. I wrote him up as a breakout pick. I should be just collecting my flowers and doing my victory lap. But, you know, you got to still try to remain open-eyed. And this might even be harder for you as a Tigers fan. But, like,
it is.
You know, like he's still only striking out 19% of the guys he sees, you know. It's
right there, though.
Yeah.
Again, watch all of his starts. This dude wants to be great. And I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Who doesn't want to be good? But like he's out there putting in the work, like you said. And Casey Mize made the changes that we all were hoping for. But right now he's riding a 194 BABIP and 90% left on base rate. Neither of those are going to hold. Those are reliever-esque numbers. And even relievers cannot maintain those all year. So we are in a little bit of a tight spot here where we have to be careful because this could come crashing down if we don't start to see more swing and miss. Like, he's got to get more strikeouts. Casey Mize does. You cannot live like this. So there are positives to take, but he's still just like right there. Can he get that final bit and actually become a more competent starter? But I think where you have him ranked makes sense. I think that's where Casey Mize has to be right now until we see a bit more. But I am holding everywhere I can. I don't want to cut Casey Mize in case that last bit clicks. I will say this, though. After next week, when he goes to Houston, he has an at Colorado, home to Texas two-step. That will be a challenge. In fact, the Houston start will be
for that one.
Yeah, all three of these next starts will be a challenge, and I'm really eager to see how he comes out the other end. But like you said, it's almost certainly going to be on my bench in every format for Mize.
Yeah, since you watch a lot, we highlighted his 84-mile-an-hour slurve thing he's throwing this year, and it was a tough one for me because, you know, Stuff Plus says it's about an average pitch. That would be the first time he had an average breaking ball. It looks fairly pleasing to the eye. And when he places it correctly, you know, he has gotten some whiffs from righties on it. But it also isn't an elite breaking ball. An 84-mile-an-hour little sort of power curvy, you know, slurvy thing is not, I don't know, is that going to change the world for him? That's like kind of the biggest difference, other than throwing the splitter harder. I kind of almost wanted him to maybe Kevin Gossman it, where he is like 40% fastball, 40% splitter, and, you know, mixes around the sinker
sprinkles.
And the curve.
I think that might have to be how it is because, and, you know, to re-invoke our buddy Nick Pollock, he has concerns when somebody has to lean on a splitter because of the inconsistency of them. Now, going back to spring and even through the start of the season so far, Mize's splitter has looked good and consistent. So I do think that he could probably amp up that 24% usage, but he is trying to have a more diverse, deep arsenal, which I respect. So I'm torn between, like, I respect you trying to expand your arsenal, but maybe just lean on the splitter here because we need better results right now. So he's frustrating in a way that, like, hasn't shown in the results yet. 2.22 ERA, 0.95 WHIP. Those are both amazing for Mize. But if you're paying attention to the underlying numbers, you know that there's some scare there that he could get right back to his mid-fours ways. And then all of a sudden he's not very useful because he doesn't even have a 20% strikeout rate. And 20% isn't even good, by the way. I'm just using that as a threshold because he's never been there. We need like 23% at a minimum.
I know. That's league average is 23. 19 is not good.
Yeah, like it's legit bad at 19 for Mize. Like, he needs to push it up. So again, stick with him for a bit where you can. You don't have to start him at Houston, at Colorado, or even home to Texas. But let's see where this goes because he is putting in the work, and I really hope he gets the results he deserves, not just as a Tigers fan, but as some, you know, just watching somebody bust their hump to try to be better as a former number one overall pick.
In my interactions with him, I've felt that, you know, it's like you can feel when you talk to him, like the struggle and, you know,
wants to be great.
Like, why hasn't this clicked yet? But you can also feel like, you know, I am doing the work. Like, I am thinking about this. I
feel the same with Torque, you know, two former number ones. Now Torque's getting the results, but you could tell both, like, they're trying. And of course I'm perceiving that through interactions on television, but and I'm glad to hear you back that up.
But you can see they change. I mean, you see changes, you know, you see
exactly
trying new pitches, trying
tangible
new efforts, changing their contact point for Torkelson, you know, pulling more, pulling less, you know, trying different approaches. So, you know, we're going to transition here to waiver wire. And I think actually Ryan Gusto is an interesting one. He's a tough rank and probably on some waiver wires out there right now. And, you know, the K- BB is good, but some of it was affected by, you know, working in relief. The Stuff Plus is good, but again, that was somewhat affected by working in relief. But when I look at the Stuff Plus just for his starts, it's about the same. He has not taken a big haircut there. And when I look at his K- BB in his starts, they're pretty good. And I don't know why the oopsie projections have caught up. They've got a 4.55 ERA. I think he might be a good pitcher. I don't know.
So too.
I think he might
scooped him last week.
He might even have a chance to keep the job. Like, Blanco's not been great. He might even have the chance to keep the job when McCullers comes. So
I'm going for Gusto.
What
man.
am I missing?
I went for him. I don't think you are missing anything. I'm in lockstep with you here on Ryan Gusto. Houston is an organization that I have some implicit trust with. So when they have a new guy out there, I'll take a look at the very least. And everything I keep looking at with Gusto was worth picking up. I benched him this week because I just didn't need him, but I am really excited by this. I think that there could be something here, and I totally agree with you that he could stick around. I don't think there's any reason that he necessarily has to come out, especially if Ronel Blanco doesn't get better. Now, he had a good start last time out. Don't take away my Hayden Wesneski spot, though. That's my guy, and I love what he's been doing. But I like Gusto. I think he's very rosterable in 15s, and I think he's starting to get rosterable in 12s right now, at least as a bench guy. He's got Detroit next week, which, again, solid team. They're playing well, but they're not an offense you have to run away from. Yeah,
so you can't invest too much for somebody that may just be back in the pen or in the minors even.
Yeah. Because McCullers is due back the week after. Sorry to interrupt you. He's due back. Yeah. He's got a rehab coming. At least RotoWire puts him back in the rotation the following week on May 10th. So you keep your bids light on Gusto, but put him on your roster right now and kind of see where it goes.
Yeah. But, Blanco's really struggled, and, this is more in line with what was expected of him from prospect pedigree and before. The 10% walk rate for Blanco last year was kind of the outlier there. This is not a guy that got good command grades in the past.
And that's still high, by the way. 10% was his good one.
Yeah.
And that, if he didn't run a 220 BABIP, he would have paid a bigger toll on that 10% walk rate. Now it's back up to 12%, and the BABIP's at a more normal 262, which is still pretty good, but it's not 220. And so, we're seeing Ronel Blanco really struggle. Any chance they run a 6? Because the only guy that really should be on a 5 for sure is Valdez. Brown too. I think Brown can handle a 5-day.
But if you think you're headed towards the postseason, and
that's what I'm saying,
you're winning games.
Some juice.
13-11. You may want to get as many Brown and Valdez starts as you want,
But no one's running away from them in that division, so they're right there in the mix. So maybe they run a 6 for a little bit to ease McCullers back in, especially if they want to keep Blanco going. They like Gusto, and McCullers comes back. I think that adds up to a 6 for a little bit. They could at least try it, but if not, I do think
Gusto, kind of piggybacking, kind of. Yeah.
That can be happening. I'll tell you what, though, if they put Gusto in the secondary role, that could be cheap wins because he comes in the game when the game is in the balance. I'll take 3 to 4 innings a week from him if he can piggyback off of Blanco, as long as Blanco has not put them in a 5-0 hole. But if it could work there where they each get 3 to 4 innings, Gusto could then be the follower and maybe get some win opportunity.
Yeah, to finish off with one more Tiger for you. We'll do a couple quick sort of free agents here because this is the Fab episode. Jace Young is back, and he says he wants to play with a chip on his shoulder. I kind of like that. I mean, I think that he has a lot of things going for him, but he has yet to sort of take the job and just strangle it and make it his. So. How are you feeling about Jace Young? Do you think, there's been a lot of injuries that have led to this moment? I mean, it's who's been hurt. It started with Vierling.
And then outfield got hurt, which didn't directly affect Jace. But then Gleyber Torres got hurt. Now Gleyber's back, but there is still an opening there because they can kind of mix and match with guys.
Zach McKinstry's been hurt.
No, Ibanez is playing against Jace Young and Ibanez are kind of the perfect platoon.
Okay.
Ibanez starts against all lefties. Right now, I'm actually a little bit surprised that Jace Young got the opportunity because Zach McKinstry's been playing so well, but they've actually been using McKinstry in the outfield. So that's why those outfield injuries did actually help Jace Young, even though they didn't directly do that.
But Baez might be the everyday center fielder for now?
For now. And I hope, I root for him, obviously, not just because he's on the Tigers, but listen, who didn't know that contract was bad when he signed it? Everyone. It was so obvious. I wanted Correa so bad. I know Correa's been hurt and he's had his own issues, but as a Tigers fan, they got Hinch. I'm like, just bring in Correa. And they got Baez. Here's the thing with Jace Young, though. I still haven't seen any evidence, that he can hit a fastball. And that was the big knock coming in. And that's exactly what I've seen in his limited MLB work. It's only 101 plate appearances, but I've seen nothing to suggest that he's better at that. He's a very patient guy, but I think he's patient to the point of passivity, where he is like waiting for some perfect pitch. And usually you would think that perfect pitch is like a fastball down the middle. That's when he swings through it. So I have some issues with Jace Young as a fantasy asset right now, that I'm not really that enamored of him because I haven't seen any evidence that he can consistently hit the heat.
His pitch type values on the fastballs are the worst of all the pitches. He really feasts on breaking balls, which is it makes you wonder if he has what they call sort of slider speed bat. In terms of bat speed, 72.4 is actually slightly above average, but it can also just be what is his approach at the plate. If he's trying to get these walks, then he might just not be on time for the fastball. He used to have higher pull rates in the minors, but he also had higher strikeout rates. So I wonder if there's something there where he's trying to not strike out, where I think, that's why I kind of like this idea of like playing with a chip on his shoulder. Like, go get it. Like, go get it. Like,
don't worry about the walk so much. Try to get some hits. Get in there. Don't look for the walk every time up, and see if that can help you. Because this big walk rate with the big strikeout rate, that's not doing you any good right now. At least in the major league bubble.
The power either.
Exactly. Yeah. But I root for Jace Young, of course, obviously, as a Tigers fan. I've mentioned that 52 million times. But like, I want him to be good. I really like Josh Young, his brother. But right now, I need to see more. So be careful picking him up. 15-team fill-in, perhaps. But that's it for me right now with Jace Young.
Will Wilson is coming up for the Guardians.
Why the hell would you name your kid Will if your last name's Wilson?
Willie.
That's your child. Right? Like, what are you doing?
I was going to be Sam Sarris.
Well, that's okay. That's just alliteration. But if you had a daughter and you named her Sarah, and it was Sarah Sarris, I'd be making fun of you and your daughter. Like, Will Wilson? Shut up. Anyway, former first round pick. Yeah, is this the guy?
Oh, this is the one that the Giants basically gave the Angels money for.
Yeah. That's right. So he's back around. He's only 26. Remember, this guy was drafted way back when. 26 years old. Stuck around with the Giants for a while.
Hit rate in AAA.
Do we have anything here?
Not huge high end exit velocity. There's a huge 64% hard hit rate in AAA with a 19% strikeout rate. And the interesting thing about being 26 is that's a peak season, so he could be just coming into the bigs at his peak.
Right.
I do have some depth chart questions. If you're like looking at him versus Jace Young, like Jace Young has the big side of a job.
Exactly. I would
just
prefer
talking
him
about Gabriel Arias. Like Gabriel Arias is the third baseman more or less for these Guardians.
No, he's the second baseman. Ramirez is the third baseman.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Wilson can. He's going to bounce around the infield. He's going to try to give everyone like a day off type vibe. So I don't know where the PT comes from. Like they gave Ramirez
taking
a DH
Rocchio's job. Like Rocchio's still a bad offensive guy. Could he be?
He's a true shortstop though, right?
Yeah.
He can play a true short defensively.
Wilson.
He's a bad hitter though, Rocchio.
Yeah, he's a bad hitter. Wilson played in the minors mostly third base.
That's blocked off. So I think it is Arias. Has Will Wilson ever played the outfield? Because the outfield has been a need in Cleveland now since like the Lofton, Manny Ramirez days, it seems like.
Yeah, they just had him play at third one game. Yeah, I don't think I think this one is better left out there maybe. I think so too. The big money will be Nick Kurtz.
Yep.
He comes up and Lawrence Butler made a funny statement. He said, "Oh, it's so great to make your major league debut and step out there on a major league field for the first time. Too bad Nick Kurtz won't get that."
Yeah, because his debut was at home in a minor league
like,
field.
Obviously, he won't get that here, but
that's really funny. Now, hopefully, they don't send him out the way they treated Estuary Ruiz when he made fun of the organization. Kurtz, obviously, huge upside.
Already hit a ball 112 in the major leagues.
I got to ask you this though: where's the K rate going to be? He's, he was at 27% in the minors. That usually suggests a 30+% guy. Now he smashes the hell out of them.
There's also
I'm not here to rain on him.
Increase in swing strike rate between ABS and non-ABS. So he had like an 8% swing strike rate in AA, and then he had 12 in AAA, which is ABS, or at least ABS and challenge. And I think that's just a AAA environment right now is really hard for hitters because they do this thing where like 4 days of the week is ABS and 3 days of the week is challenge system. And so like they're just yo-yoing around from zone to zone. That's crazy. I'm looking at those zone charts from ABS versus challenge, and there are still massive differences between those zones. So
maybe you're not worried that Kurtz is going to strike out at a 30% clip, maybe more in the low to mid 20s, in which case he's just going to rake. He's a huge bat. So I'm not telling people not to get him. I'm just saying there could be a little bit of average risk. Although we've talked about this with Jack Kaggs, where he could hit his way through the strikeouts. And I really believe that with Kurtz. So even if he has a better home
park, I think. I mean, Sutter's playing mostly hitter. There's going to be some weird nights where the wind is just blowing the other way, but I think on some it'll be a hitter's park.
Totally agree.
I was there on opening day. It was 48 degrees, and
oh my God,
the wind was aiding homers out at 48 degrees. This park has not even gotten as hot as it's going to get.
Right, and that was the big thing, was it's going to be blazing hot. I love Kurtz. I think your NFBC main event bids are going to have to start with a 3, and they're going to be 3 digits.
And that's really hard because I almost never do that. I'm like a steady worker. I'm working 10s and 20s, and
that is the right way.
Might take a 100, on a big one, and we'll probably do like a 100 make good on this and lose out to the guy who's. I mean, what did we see? We saw 600 bids on Chandler Simpson. So
and this is that kind of bat that people are going to be excited about. The only thing that might keep the bids down a little bit is that if it's the person in your league who would bid high already got Simpson, maybe they don't have enough money to go big. But it is going to be
why you do the make goods. I mean, you still got to come up with a number that you believe in, that you would be fine with spending on him. And I think my number would start with a 1. I don't know if I'd go all the way to a 2. But
mine's going to be in the ones. It's going to be, like you said, a make good in the ones, because there's going to be a couple leagues out there where Nick Kurtz goes for like 128. And we're all going to be so mad that it wasn't our league, but maybe we'll be the lucky ones where nobody else needed him and I got him for 139 or whatever it is, something in the 100s there. It will happen because it happens all the time in these NFBC leagues.
We are sort of one for 2 on third baseman. Let's just finish with a pair of third basemen that are on waivers, that are playing pretty well and available and might just have everyday jobs. Those 2 are Ben Williamson in Seattle and Eric Wagaman in Miami.
So 2 of the worst parks to hit in.
Yeah, 2 of the worst parks, but and Ben Williamson's job may be contingent on injury, but the injury, Ryan Bliss's bicep, is a big one.
He's out for a while,
it's months, and they chose to bring up Ben Williamson instead of Colt Emerson or Cole Young, so they're excited about Williamson. Williamson is not run good power numbers in the minors, but he has hit a ball 110 in the big leagues. He does hit the ball on the ground a little bit too much, but he doesn't strike out, which is huge for those Mariners hitters. They've been striking out too much. Seems like a professional hitter. Wagaman is a professional hitter because that's what you call someone who's 27 and been with like 15 organizations.
Absolutely.
But
and he doesn't strike out. He makes contact. He's been doing well.
Doesn't have great power. Can run a little bit. I mean, they're very similar. Which one of these 2 are you picking if you're picking one?
I think Wagaman, because he's got the more consistent playing time. And listen, Marlins lineup is bad. The park is rough, but he's batting 2 or 3 every day in that lineup. Whereas Williamson right now has been on the short side of the platoon. That could expand just because of need for them. And I don't think Miles Mastrobuoni, real player, but I don't think he's necessarily pushing Ben Williamson out if Ben Williamson can hit. That said, I think Wagaman is your guy here, and I would go a decent bit higher on his bid than I would with Ben Williamson right now.
Yeah, this is the kind of player that on the Miami Marlins team can put up 600 plate appearances and get to his kind of 15, 10, 260 kind of end line that will have positive value in almost every league, and nobody will remember it, years to come.
100%.
He'll be more, he'll like graduate in a kind of a John Birdie situation where he kind of goes from team to team afterwards, and
classic glue guy where he's just, he's solid when you got him. There's deep league viability for Eric Wagaman, but I don't think he's like, quote unquote winning anybody their league.
I got Brian in my ear 70 minutes in. All right. We did it. Now the hardest part of it all is finishing it up. I'm terrible at this.
Land the plane.
Gibbs. I can't do it. I'm already like, are you hearing my voice? This is when we start doing trivia. I may start sounding like this. Like my pitch goes up and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know one thing I got to do is thank the host, thank the host. Thank you, Paul Sporer.
Thank you for having me on. It was great.
Pleasure to hang out as always. And I can't wait till the next time I see you. And I don't even know when that'll be, but hopefully soon. And thanks for coming on and helping us. And thanks to Niv Shah for coming on the show and telling us about that monstrosity. Thanks to Brian Smith for producing this.
There it is again.
And thanks to all of you for going all the places and clicking all the buttons that say you like us. And thanks for listening.
You did it.